on
Yeah,
his
I'm going.
plate. I'm like,
I thought Jessica, you're leaving.
I was looking for Tim.
Drama, if you just
Welcome everybody back after the break. So now we go to the most important part of our meeting, which are speeches. And the first speaker is going to be David, and David is going to give his icebreaker. First speech.
Like Wile E. the Coyote chasing the roadrunner through the desert, I am steadfast, unwavering, and determined. Fellow Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, how many people here know Wile E? Now most people do. He's a tall, skinny little fellow. He runs around the desert all hungry. And even though notoriously hungry, he still managed to chase the most elusive prey in the desert, and that's the roadrunner. So I assimilate myself while hungry to be like the roadrunner because I am steadfast, unwavering, and determined. Now, how many people here have had a stretch goal in their head and have achieved it at some point in their lives? Well, I did, and I was 8 years old, and I was a Cub Scout. Now, at first, I wasn't a very formidable Cub Scout because I never built the Matchbox car that won the downhill derby, and I procrastinated too much to win many merit badges. But when it came to selling candy bars, I found my calling. Now there was a boy in Cub Scouts who had 2 all-time pack records for selling candy bars. The first was 400 candy bars, the second was 440, and the whole pack was impressed, and all the parents bid on me. And I made it my stretch goal to beat him. So the troop master asked for a volunteer as to who was going to house all the candy bars and dole them out to all the fellow Cub Scouts in the pack. And I volunteered my dad because when I ran out of my allotted bound, I wanted quick access to more. So I hit the streets and I hit the phones, and chances are if you bought a candy bar in Wilmette during the fall of 1994, they bought it from me. So I went out there and I sold, and I was aggressive about it. And when we all came back to the pack meeting at the end of the allotted time, we all counted up our receipts, and I didn't sell 400 candy bars. I didn't sell 440. I sold 888 candy bars. And like the Roadrunner, I was steadfast. Now, how many people out there have started at the bottom of something and made their way up to the top of something? Okay. Well, I did, and I was 13, and I was a caddy. So just like Wile E., I was a tall, skinny fellow, no muscle, no real idea of what a caddy job entailed. So I took the first summer to learn the trade, and I also learned an important skill that all young caddies need to master, and that's patience. Because the trick to getting that first loop is waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And I probably spent more time playing poker and reading books than actually looping that first year. But I finally got my first loop, and I kept going, and I was actually pretty good at it, and kept going and made my way up through the ranks until one summer of 2007 when I became the high honor caddy. So I was really excited about this, and they kept me coming back for more, and the next year I outperformed all the other caddies in the shack and earned the recognition of being the high honor caddy of the year. So I was Wile E., and I was unyielding. Now, how many people here have a computer at home? How many people know their home route, all the correct buttons and all that? Well, I did. However, I was born with 8 fingers. And so I had a little bit of a setback at first. And so when I was born without thumbs. And the doctors made my pointer fingers into thumbs themselves. And my whole life I made excuses for why I couldn't do things that my other friends could do. I couldn't throw the ball as fast or as long or as accurate as all my friends, and I was okay to make excuses, therefore I didn't have to compare myself to them. So I made my way to try to change this mindset about myself throughout my life in my later high school and into college, I decided I need to learn the home run. In 7th grade, I put this behind me and sat back and made excuses. So during the winter break of college, while my friends were in the Bahamas, I was at home and I bought Mavis Beacon Teaches Typing. And I sat there for more than an hour every day learning my home row, A, S, D, J, K, L, and how to figure out my deficiencies for the middle, trying to figure out what to do about those. After a few weeks, moved to the bottom row and the top row, Q, W, E, and I mastered that. And after a couple weeks, and it took me a little longer than winter break, but I mastered it. And at the end of that time, I was able to type at least 50 words per minute. So I actually got pretty good, and my goal, I guess, just was to be able to type without looking. So like Wall-E, chasing the roadrunner through the desert, and throughout my life I've been determined, I've been steadfast, unyielding, and determined. Madam Toastmaster.